I'm really excited about being here, and I hope you all are too. This is a two-day summit, but it's also a celebration because it's not only the 2019 FOI Summit, something that we do on an annual basis, it's also the 30th anniversary for the National Freedom of Information Coalition and for this summit. And really, this is where it all began 30 years ago, not necessarily in this particular room, but in this particular city when a group of individuals and some existing state FOI coalitions banded together and convened the first meeting in 1989 of the National Freedom of Information Assembly, which was the original name for NFOIC. And this is a meeting that grew out of an expression from a number of specialized First Amendment organizations around the country to express this goal to protect the public's right to know. And a lot of these coalitions were challenged with their states and their locales in terms of dealing with their public institutions and be able to have access to information and access to meetings and public records, and felt that a national presence through an organization would be much more significant for them to be able to push their goals on a national level, to help create new state organizations around the country, to help with fundraising, and then also provide a kind of an infrastructure for collaboration across the country. And that's exactly what NFOIC developed into doing to today. However, there were some coalitions that were existing before the National Freedom of Information Coalition, as I mentioned, and I'd like to recognize there are about 7 of them that are members of NFOIC today, but also recognize those that were here before NFOIC. Moving backwards, and 2 years before NFOIC formed, the Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition formed, and Jeff Roberts, their executive director, is with us today. Jeff, thank you. The Florida First Amendment Foundation formed in 1984. Barbara Peterson, who is also on our board, as Jeff is on our board, is the director of that. She's up to her eyeballs in Tallahassee right now with the state legislative session going on there as well. In 1981, the First Amendment Coalition of Arizona formed, and Dave Coulier is here representing the coalition there from Arizona. And our state host, the First Amendment, or the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas, formed in 1978. And 1978, also the Wisconsin Freedom of Information Council formed. And realizing that last year those two coalitions celebrated their 40th anniversary. And Kelly Shannon, who's going to come up in a little bit and give some welcome remarks, and Bill Luders, who are here from Wisconsin and from Texas, we welcome you for being here as well. In our bicentennial, 1976, the Iowa Freedom of Information Council formed, and Zachary Kucharski is here representing the group. Thank you, Zachary, for being here. And then you got to go back to the oldest coalition that we have among our members, and the oldest one we found out there happens to be in a state next door to Texas, and that's the Public Affairs Research Council of Louisiana. Anybody want to take a guess when they formed? 1950, the Public Affairs Research Council of Louisiana. Robert Scott, who got in this morning, is here. Robert, thanks for being here. And I sent a note to Robert when I found out about 1950. I said, you formed in 1950. I mean, were you doing open, watchdog, open government work and FOI? And Robert told me they were doing FOI before FOI was cool. So, and I'm not going to argue with you because you were there at the beginning, right? On this thing. I'm just kidding. All right, so we're in Texas, and I'd like to ask Kelly Shannon, who is the executive director for the First Amendment, or the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas, to come up for a couple of minutes and give some remarks. I want to thank Kelly and her team for the work that they've done to help put this event on. If you're a coalition who has hosted an FOI Summit in the past, you know the work that's involved in doing that, and we really appreciate, you all participating and contributing to this, and we really do appreciate, Kelly, your team as well.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Texas. And Dan makes it out like I was a huge help, but I'm afraid I haven't been as much help as I would like because of our crazy legislative session going on. But many of you know what that's like. But anyway, yes, we are here. We are trying to help out best we can. And the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas is based in Austin, actually, so it's 180 miles south of here. It used to be based in Dallas, actually, and moved to Austin in 2009. And as Dan mentioned, the Freedom of Information Foundation of Texas, I know that's a mouthful, has been around since 1978. So last year we did celebrate our 40th anniversary. So that was nice, and we are really glad to be able to help celebrate this 30th anniversary of NFOIC. As I mentioned, I live in Austin. I find myself in Dallas here and there, quite a bit really for business reasons or family reasons. So I do know some things about Dallas and might have some tips or places you might want to see or restaurants and that sort of thing. If you want to talk to me while you're here, I might be able to help out a little bit with that. So I'll do my best, and I just want to thank Dan and the NFOIC folks, Maggie, Kelsey, for all of your organizational efforts. It looks like you've done a real good job getting this pulled together, and a quick turnaround too, since it hadn't been many months since the last one. So thank you all, and let me know how I can help while you're here, and I look forward to chatting with you all over the next couple of days. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, so for 30 years, these FOI summits have have provided a great opportunity and forum for us to bring together the different states and their coalitions and the dedicated men and women who run these and work in these organizations as well. Many of them are volunteers, and we really appreciate the work that you all have done throughout these 30 years. These summits are put on to help the coalitions to bring together subject matter experts, as presenters to present to the coalitions. So we have a number of people who are going to be presenting through these sessions here today. Some of them you all are represented there. But the other thing about it to the presenters is that we have a very savvy, informed audience that you're going to be talking to, and so you can expect to hear a lot of interaction and a lot of good stories and experiences that are going to be shared here today. We also have worked to try to diversify the content that we're presenting at these sessions here as well, and really we have a committee that works here, and I want to thank the committee we had to work on the summit here as well to put together some of the ideas for topics for these sessions here. And I think you're really in for a good show over the next couple days here. We're going to be touching on a number of different areas that are going to be significant to what you all are dealing with on a regular basis, and they also are indicative of what's to come down the road here as we start our next 30 years and beyond for NFOIC and for the coalitions. We're going to talk about online public record request portals, a new technology to provide a service for probably one of the most oldest tools of freedom of information, and that is making a public records request. We're going to have Doug Robinson is here from the National Association of State CIOs, and he's going to be presenting us with a presentation on how states are managing their public and not their public records and the challenges that they're having today with cybersecurity issues and just the numbers, the terabytes of data and information that are being generated daily among these state governments and how they are addressing that. I think this is going to be a real eye-opening presentation for you all as well. You're also going to be among the first to hear the latest on the night report on state and local FOI organizations. Dave Coulier, the author of that report, he and I are going to have an interactive lunch here that we hope everybody will participate in, and he's going to share with us his latest findings on that report before it's officially released. And we want to make this interactive, and we really want to hear from you all as well as input. I know Dave is looking forward to that as well as I am as well. We've got a stellar group of legal experts that's going to be talking about the growing use of litigation towards public institutions, and ironically, the growing use of litigation by these public institutions on the publics that they serve, exploring where that's going. We're doing something this year for the first time ever. We have a research paper competition on FOI. And we selected 12, the committee selected 12 papers. 3 of those papers are going to be presented this afternoon. The other 9 will be available in a poster session at the welcome reception that we hope you will attend this evening. And then we're also going to hear from the funding community. We have representative here from the Knight Foundation and also from the Charles Koch Institute who are going to share with us what they're seeing at their areas in terms of where they're funding press freedom, freedom of speech, and FOI, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the critical challenges they're seeing that out there and how they're responding to that as well. We have representatives from the 4 major national ethnic minority journalist associations that are here to discuss First Amendment and press freedom challenges that are unique to their organizations and to their audiences, and these are associations that we want to be closer with, and certainly the state chapters working closer with their FOI coalitions in their states as well. We're going to do something interesting here that I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but it's going to be a series of lightning round conversations that we have with our state coalition directors who have been given 3 slides and 3 minutes to give us an idea of some of the challenges and some of the victories. Hopefully we'll have some victories to talk about. I know about one in Colorado that Jeff will be sharing with us today. And so that'll be something that'll give us a good send-off for the reception this afternoon. And then we're going to close out the summit with a panel of speakers that are, we call it pioneers and trailblazers, that are going to bring together some of the founders, early founders in federal and state FOI, and pair them with some of the new generation, the next gen people in government and technology and journalism, to look at the future of where things are going and how to address those challenges as well. And last but not least, we're going to take some time tomorrow. We have our luncheon to recognize 4 worthy heroes into the State Open Government Hall of Fame. And we're going to find some time to talk a little bit about NFOIC over the last 30 years. We have some of the founders that have joined us here today to share with us as well. So I want to thank all the coalition directors and their representatives for being here. We really appreciate it. We have, I think about 25 coalitions are here represented, which is great. We also have, I think Oklahoma has the largest delegation here. So Oklahoma, thank you for being here and representing yourself. I want to also put a big thank you out and appreciation to our presenters. As you all know, this is something that they take time and effort to share their talents and their time with us and are here today. So I really appreciate you all being here and sharing your knowledge with us as well. I want to thank the NFOIC Board of Directors. They and their talent and their time that they've dedicated to the NFOIC organization and to helping me do my job better. I also want to recognize 3 of our staff here: Kelsey Ryan, our outreach manager; Maggie Stanley, Stansley, our administrative manager; and then also Stephen Chamberlain. I really appreciate the work that they've done to turn this thing around. As Kelly said, we had our last conference in September. We wanted to go back to the spring, and we did that. Even in Mother Nature's face, we were able to do that. And I also want to recognize, finally, I want to recognize our sponsors who, through their financial support of this event, makes this possible and helps to be able to put this event on and to bring our coalitions here to this. And that's Bloomberg, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Charles Koch Institute, Scripps Media, Quorum, and then our partner at the University of Florida, the Brechter Center for FOI, and Frank Lamonti and your team. We appreciate it, your all's involvement here as well. So, am I leaving anything out? Anything? Yeah, you might have noticed a couple of changes here. Over the last couple of years, I'd heard from a number of board members that were just talking about the logo. You know, we're coming up on the 30th anniversary, and we've had this logo for a long time. And maybe it's time to freshen this up and the look. And Kelsey and Maggie took that as marching orders, and we tracked down a national graphic artist. We gave that woman some directions on what we would like to see happen, and she came back with the design. We did some minor tweaking to it, which really wasn't that significant, but significant enough for us now. And she came up with this new design. And one of the instructions, just to tell you, this is an organization that we are focused on this future. We're focused on the state coalitions and making sure that they're sustainable and they're successful out there in what they do. We're also about diversity. We're looking at the future, and it's about inclusion and broadening this tent and bringing more people into what we're doing, and also at the state level as well, replicating that state by state. And so the instructions that we gave to the graphic artists, we said, number one, we want our name in the logo. The name needs to be in the logo. We have our miniature version here that we'll use, but the name needs to be in the logo. We also wanted something that presented a national presence for NFOIC. And we wanted to use a font that was reminiscent of our journalism roots here as well. And we wanted some elements from freedom of information, from the redaction and the highlighting standpoint, of which one of our board members said it looks kind of like the Mueller report. And so anyway, she came back with this, and we were really happy. We're very excited to moving this thing forward in what we're doing here. So I think you're going to be in for a treat. Hopefully, when you leave, you're going to be re-energized. You're going to be motivated, and you're going to be hopeful, because you're going to see that even though you're in your states and you might be thinking that you're working this thing out alone, there's a lot of people and a lot of organizations that are there to support what you all are doing, and we're going to continue to build on that support over the coming years here. So thank you all for being here.